Second, please. Councillor Perry, comments or questions on the minutes? All in favour? Contrary? That is carried, Madam Clerk. We will move into presentations. First up, we have Shelley Ware. Ms. Ware.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council tonight. We are actually pleased to give an update with regards to the Aurora Sesquicentennial Legacy Project that was launched back in 2015 and was spearheaded back in 2013. We have a really special announcement to make, and I would really like the announcement to be made from Joe Costa from Two Thumbs Up Productions. So I'd like to share the podium with him.
Thank you, Shelley. Good evening, Mayor Daw, members of Council. My name again, Joe Costa, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you here tonight. It was about a year ago that Alison Collins-Marakis presented to you the Aurora Sesquicentennial Final Legacy Project, the documentary titled Remembrance Day, Past, Present, and Future, a video that was produced by myself and my team. The video took a look at the significance of Remembrance Day as told through the eyes of the individuals that sacrificed their freedoms so that we can continue to enjoy ours. This was an important story that needed to be told and still needs to be told. And I was quite thrilled and honored to have been the production company selected to do this video. Earlier this year, I was honored once again when the video received a 2016 Bronze Telly Award in the non-broadcast educational video category. Honored because even in an international competition, the stories of our veterans, our people, our town of Aurora, had an impact and resonated with individuals many, many miles away. So tonight I'd like to share that honor with the many people who made this video possible. First, with Alison Collins-Marakis and all the members of Aurora Sesquicentennial Committee, some of them here tonight, Greg Smith, Tim Jones, Brian Trussler, Stuart McLaren, Brian North, and Lindsay McGuire. Thank you for envisioning this project and for laying the foundation. I share this with Mayor Daw and members of the 2010-2014 Council and members of present-day Council for greenlighting and supporting this initiative. With Al Downey and his team, especially Shelley Ware. Shelley, this was a long but thrilling journey, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for entrusting me and my team to tell this very important and special story. The Royal Canadian Legion, Colonel Fred Tilson, VC Branch 385, specifically Ken White and Dave Franklin, who was here, Laurie's representing. Hi, Laurie. Thank you for all your assistance and for opening up your doors as well as your membership base to help me tell this story. Ferguson Mobs, Fergie. I read about Fergie in the paper long before we ever met, and I remember thinking, now this is the guy who gets things done. So I was absolutely thrilled when, during my first meeting with Shelley, Fergie was there. I am so blessed and privileged to have worked with you on this project. Your tireless commitment and dedication not only to the Canadian military, but to this project really elevated it to a level it deserved. To my team, I couldn't have done this alone. Dave Cadiz, Chris Sherry, and especially my wife, Penny. Penny, you are always there to do whatever needs to be done, from the most glamorous to the most menial, and specifically on this project, for lugging around hundreds of pounds of equipment while I was recovering from surgery for a retina that decided to detach in the most unopportune time during the schedule. So thank you for ensuring that the show must go on. Penny is another Greek from Scarborough, by the way. And finally, and most importantly, I'd like to share this award with all the individuals who appeared in the video and share their personal stories of courage, sacrifice, and hope. As long as we continue to have the support of the individuals or the types of individuals that I've mentioned, the resolve of Town Council, its committees and staff to keep sanctioning projects like this to be made, their sacrifices will never be forgotten, and we will continue to be able to tell their stories. So I thank Petty Officer Alan Griffiths, Able Seaman Carl Bradall, Dave Franklin, Lieutenant Colonel Phil Halton, Captain Ryerson Mabey, Sergeant Renee Russell, Master Corporal Paul Nichols, Carol Collier, Donna Beek, Captain Phil Lesk, Warrant Officer Elizabeth Cannon, Warrant Officer Second Class Nathan Chan, Major Adam Mobbs, Don Ellis Mobbs, and the music students of Cardinal Carter High School. So now I'd like to take this opportunity to present to Mayor Daw, members of council, and all those involved with a symbol of this achievement.
Sorry, one for the Twitter machine.
Thank you very much, Shelley and Joe. Motion to receive the presentation, please. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Maracas, all in favor? Contrary, that's carried. Our second presentation is Steve Kimmer and Ron Weiss from Sport Aurora, the 2016 Sport Aurora update. Gentlemen.
Give that to him. Here, okay. Good evening. Almost forgot what I came here for. But don't we know how to clear out a room, though? My name is Ron Weiss. I live at 37 Larmont Street. I'm the past president of Sport Aurora. And so my job tonight with the current president is to do a bit of an annual report for the last 11 years. But I'm going to do it very quickly for the first 10 years of it, where I was more involved. Our purpose here tonight is to give you a bit of background, some context, and then Steve's going to talk to you about 2016 and 17. So, way back in 2005, we started this with 7 sport organizations. Those sport organizations were pulled together for an advocacy reason. When we did that advocacy, we had all candidates meetings. We contributed to Parks and Recreation through their master plan, pricing policies, and things of that nature and in fact, we were called the Aurora Community Sport Council. Fast forward to 2010, a hallmark year for us because we got together with our membership that had grown from 7 to 22 at that point, and we incorporated. We had a constitution at that time. We did a strategic plan, and our membership said they wanted to do a number of things. So we wanted to become a professionally managed, volunteer-driven organization. We started the Breakfast of Champions way back then. Many of you came to that. Volunteer recognition. We also did the All Kids Can Play program. I think we've gathered something close to $52,000. Haven't distributed it all yet, but we're working on that. And of course, in 2012, we again applied for an Ontario Trillium Foundation grant, and we started the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. And I hope you all remember that a week from tomorrow is the 4th annual Sport Hall of Fame dinner. And I want to thank you all for the support you've given the Sports Hall of Fame, because I do work with that organization in the repositioning of the Sports Hall of Fame out at the Sark. I hope you get a chance to go there on November the 5th. It's quite remarkable, and I have to thank the people who are in this room for making that happen. In 2015, the feds decided that that was going to be Year of Sport in Canada. And 3 other provinces said they were going to be calling it their Year of Sport. One community in the entire country decided that they were going to call it Year of Sport, and that was Aurora. So I want to thank this council, and particularly Mayor Daw and Councillor Thompson for leading that charge, because what came out of that was the sport plan. And so what happened was that the sport plan was developed, our sport organizations put together the opportunity for the to give that to the consultant. And so that made a big difference. Out of that sport plan also came the Activate Aurora program, another $749,500 that Sport Aurora brought into the community and work on trying to make Aurora Canada's most active community. So right now what we have is 41 members. Through Steve's effort and others, we now have an inclusive organization that represents 41 sport organizations, virtually every not-for-profit organization in town, and some for-profits as well. Now I want to take this opportunity. I think Councillor Gartner last week asked about accessibility of Activate Aurora in particular. I want to tell you that we permit all of our facilities. All of our facilities are permitted from either the town or the school board. All of them have standards and codes for accessibility if you're talking about physical accessibility. But we also have to sign an agreement with the Ontario Trillium Foundation that we are completely inclusive and that we do involve accessibility in everything that we provide. So I hope that helps, and if you need anything more on that, please ask me about that. So right now I want to pass this over to Steve, who's the present and the future of Sport Aurora. So Steve Kimmer.
Thank you. Stephen Kimmer. I live at 48 Devons Drive, and I'm the president of Sport Aurora. So I'm going to zoom through this as fast as I can because time is limited and you've had a long evening already. And as far as the sport plan is concerned, we have 4 pillars that we're working on as of right now: sport leadership and sustainability, which demonstrates effective shared leadership and sustaining strong and sport delivery system. I'm going to run through this. Sport, focus on sport participant, promotion and celebration of sport, and sports tourism. We've already had meetings and put together committees to work on these things for this year. During our progress, we've had a service agreement signed with the town. We've had committees, like I said, created. We've produced a 3-year budget projections, suggested funding sources and partnerships. We've got grant programs to help groups implement the sports plan, especially in tourism and special needs. Volunteer development strategy that includes tools for recruitment, retention, records keeping, and rewards. Developed performance metrics for sports delivery and defined trends. Training for cultural diversity. An environmental scan has been started for the delivery of programs for persons with disabilities, and sports access policies that identify barriers and increase participation of girls, women, boys, men, older adults, marginalized communities, and resolve those with financial barriers, as well as building an Aurora sports tourism strategy in cooperation with business community leadership, such as the Aurora Chamber of Commerce. Highlights from 2016, you can see that we've got 19 listed. I'm not going to go through all of those, but we did bring our total membership to 41, which includes the AMHA and the Aurora Youth Soccer Club, and that has been a sticking point for a number of people on this council and outside. We just celebrated our 5th Breakfast of Champions. Our guest speaker was Dr. Ivan Joseph from Ryerson University, and anybody who was there realized that it was a special treat. We're celebrating our 6th volunteer recognition event at Aw Shucks in November. We've initiated our first Schools Athlete of the Year program in 2016. We had our first Athlete of the Year in Cameron Morrison, a young hockey player, NHL drafted, who is now playing at Notre Dame University. We trained over 100 coaches and volunteers in physical literacy, launched the Activate Aurora program. We had a physical literacy summit in 2016 held at Seneca College. Sport Plan Consultation Committee was formed. Again, as I mentioned that, we've met 3 times, and we are going to continue to meet. And we had our first Sports Expo. Next is a highlight. All I'm doing here is showing you that we have made the effort to find funding where plausible and possible through things like the hoedown and our Trillium grants, et cetera, et cetera. But the point I have to make here is that our budget is 30 to 50% covered by things that we're doing and programs that we are providing. There are more highlights here. Again, the ones I want to point out is we had the first National Walk to School Day at Rick Hansen Public School. We were the only town to declare, or in fact, sorry, we've just made a declaration becoming Canada's most active community. It's a challenge. And we formed a collaboration with the Healthy Kids Community Challenge. We are always measuring what we do and trying to measure our success. So our membership has grown over the last 3 or 4 years, as we've mentioned. We had 200 plus attendees and 119 athletes at the Mayor's Breakfast of Champions. We have 15 volunteers nominated from their organizations for the upcoming Volunteer Recognition Luncheon. We developed 150 coaches, town staff, and volunteers in fundamental movement skills and literacy training and physical literacy. Our All Kids Can Play program funded 140 kids in 2016, and that program received $54,898 in donation. On top of that, we received a Canadian Tire Jumpstart Partnership, which is our partner. We received $30,000 from St. Andrews College, and that was great. We also, as well, had launched our Activate Aurora. We had 250 people attend that at launch in September 18th. We plan on implementing the second year deliverables of the sport plan. We continue to be a professionally managed, volunteer-driven service organization. We continue to deliver our successful events and programs, administer, manage, and grow the All Kids Can Play program, implement the sports tourism strategy in cooperation with town organizations, businesses, and implement and introduce a Friday Night Lights strategy for sports tourism. That is a scenario where every one of our member organizations takes a Friday night and produces a large event that we advertise and try to get town support and people to go to it. Implement a regional sports summit in advance of sports and sports expo, and so on and so forth. I'm going quick here.
Mr. Kimmerer, do you have much more?
I have less than a minute.
Okay.
Thank you. The last 11 years has solidified Sport Aurora's presence in the community of Aurora. We have continued to deliver quality programs, support town initiatives, and have brought millions of dollars of value to our community through revenue generation and volunteer contribution. Sport Aurora continues as a non-for-profit, inclusive organization representing 41 sports organizations in Aurora. We also represent the thousands of citizens in our community that we service through our sports membership with quite high-quality programs that meet the needs of every citizen, regardless of age, gender, or ability. We hope that Town Council agrees and will see its way to partnering with Sport Aurora when the issue of financial support is brought before this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimmerer. May I have a motion first to receive? Councillor Humphries, Councillor Kim. Comments or questions? Councillor Apel? Councillor Gardner, Councillor Thompson.
I just don't know where we'd be without Sport Aurora. The tremendous advocacy and your metrics and everything that you do just speaks to about community and partnership and collaboration. There's no way the town could even do step one with what you've done. And I can't overemphasize how valuable collaboration and working with organizations like yourselves are to the town and our community. And I applaud you for everything that you've done. I attended the Breakfast of Champions, and it was another great success. So was Activate Aurora. Everything you did this year, I can't believe how much you've done. Of course, we're going to support you. You've done all the heavy lifting for years. It's time for the town to just come in on the gravy. It's all smoothly running. I know there's still more to do. You'll never stop. But you are a beacon for every other organization in this community that senses the need to collaborate with the town, whether it be the chamber or BIA or festivals or events. Everything looks towards what you do, and it's just truly inspirational. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Councillor Abel. Appreciate it.
Councillor Thompson, Gardner, Humphries.
Thank you, Stephen. Great to see you again. And certainly collaboration, I think, is a key theme this evening. You know, there's a long history now between the town and Sport Aurora, and we know that it takes many people to accomplish what you do, and some are in the audience tonight from Sport Aurora, and certainly appreciate all of their efforts and the work they've done over the past. But for me, one of the great accomplishments this year is seeing the AYSC and AMHA join Sport Aurora under the, sport initiatives that we've put together, and I look forward to even more things being done as more and more organizations get involved. I think great things are in store for Aurora and sport. Thank you very much for everything you've done.
Councillor Gartner, Councillor Humphries.
Okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Following on the comments that have already been made, it is incredible the amount of work and the fruits of that work. Thank you very much. Could you just say what the after-school multi-sport program is?
We're producing it. There's an awful lot of research that's been done that kids need to play more things. Their physical literacy, they need to be able to throw a ball, be able to kick a ball, be able to fall down and tumble. And there's not enough programs that do that for the kids. So we've developed a program, and Lori and Ron are instrumental in producing that, to get kids into active spaces doing different things other than, for example, just play hockey or just play soccer. All right, so they get, at a young age, they have organized play that shows them how to balance, how to run backwards, things like that, just to, in a playful, wonderful way. And so it gets kids doing more things, gives them an opportunity to test volleyball, swimming, skating, rather than to concentrate in one area.
And it's truly helpful, and some of those are lost arts, like
Absolutely.
falling.
Yep.
So, and you're speaking of physical literacy. How do families find out about that, and is there a cost to that?
Do you want to talk to this, Ron, please?
The way this program is set up is that we're working through the schools because we're taking the same model that recycling did, for instance. Recycling started in schools, went to the homes, and it went from school to school to build. So that's the growth part of what we're doing. So we have one Activate Aurora school this year we're concentrating on, working with them. Then we'll be going to 2 others, then 4 others, then 8 others over the years as we refine how we do this. So parents will get this information usually through the schools, but we'll also be doing some of the advertising and other traditional types of methods. We have a very strong social media campaign and a website, so www.activateaurora.com.
Thank you. So it'll be an after-school program, and there will be a cost to it.
Yes, oh, sorry. There are costs that are incurred. Part of the grant will subsidize that. We're also looking for sponsors who may want to do that to keep reducing costs, because we know that cost is always a barrier, so we're trying to reduce that as best we can.
Thank you. And with respect to my comments last week about, I was just channeling comments from the Accessibility Advisory Committee. That was their perception. So hopefully somebody from Sport Aurora will be able to go out to one of their meetings and give them more information and clarify the details.
I'd happy to do that. I think we should be at steering committees for Healthy Kids Community Challenge, which we do work with the steering committee. I talked with a couple of the councillors here, Councillor Maracas, about the Trails Committee. I mean, they've been busy and active transport for years and years, so there's no reason why we shouldn't connect with the trails people and start working on trying to get people elbowing each other off of those trails, because there's so many of them.
Thank you. And with respect to Activate Aurora, do you think that there is enough communication out there about how people can get involved? I'm not.
No.
I'm not finding that there is, that people really know about it and how to get involved.
Yeah, we do have a plan that's based upon social media, websites, and that type of thing. We're going to be going to all of our sport organizations and hoping they're going to be spreading that word as well. Again, working with the schools is a good way to get started. We also do daily physical activity in each one of those schools. So we act as a resource for teachers, so teachers can learn how to develop physical literacy skills within the 20 minutes to half an hour that they have each day. So it's a slow process. I mean, it took us 40 years to get from being an active country to being an inactive country, and we're hoping it's not going to take 40 years to get it back.
We have a presence on the social media, so when we send out our tweets and our Snapchats and our Facebooks, you just need to like us, and then you can start spreading it around.
Thank you. I'm finding at the leisure complex that there's not enough information there. People in the fitness center don't seem to know. People who are on the track don't seem to know. So anything you can do through our own town facilities would be appreciated.
Good idea. We're also going to the Aurora Shopping Center this week. We'll have our tent up there. I think each one of you should go to www.activateaurora.com and click that Join Us. I think some of you had, and then a lot of your information. You're going to start being inundated with stuff from there. So that's the way you get started. So please go there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So much has already been said, but what can I say? I'm so proud of you guys. Just so proud of your formula. It works so well that the larger sports teams have now all joined in and are now part of this amazing group. So inclusive. I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, we are so fortunate. To Councilor Abel's point earlier, you've delivered so much for this town that is so needed. So we just want to keep giving what you're giving, and I'll click on the activator. My phone's dead, or I do it right now. But thank you so much. There was one thing I wanted to mention. I'll let you know when the next active Trails and Transportation meeting is. Councilor Max and I are both on that. We're planning a Bike Aurora week on the trails for next May. So we'll start working that soon. We'd love, any help that you can do.
Well, our strategy also is to piggyback on every other event. So if you're having an event, then we want to be at that event so that we can do that type. We'll be doing some of our own events, but that's the other strategy of getting it out. So thanks very much for the offer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recently attended the Breakfast of Champions on Sunday at King's Riding, and what I got out of it was that really put into a nutshell, it summarized the theology of Sport Aurora. At first I thought it was just about getting kids active, physical literacy, but it also, when you hear guest speakers like Dr. Joseph, a lot of it is what happens in here, and you implement, you teach that to, I'm sure, the coaches and the instructors in Sport Aurora programs. So I applaud you guys for all you do. It's after couple of years, I'm finally kind of understanding. I know someone said we use the word holistic too much, but that whole all-encompassing perspective of sport,
11
not
years
just
in the
physical.
making. So
Yeah, and I wrote a lot of notes. Even when Dr. Joseph said self-confident people interpret feedback differently. Don't let others define who you are. And I know my wife says, you don't pick up after yourself, and I know, yes, I do. I really interpret things a lot differently, and so thank you very much.
Thank you. Other speakers? Councilor Maracas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Wonderful work, and I'm just going to be really brief because I know you touched on it, that coming to the Trails Committee, and we've had those discussions, Ron, and I think it's important also to that we look at the programming as we discussed, as far as adding walking through the trails and allowing for those programs to be available for people, not only to be physically active, but also to promote our town. So and I think it's a great opportunity to get involved with Activate Aurora and Sport Aurora in that aspect of it. And so I'm looking forward to that. And when you guys do come to the Trails Committee, and I think it's also important to, we've talked a lot about organized sport, but I think it's also important to promote, that I don't want to use the word unorganized sport, but just, that unstructured play, just having people go out there and having fun, and whether it's walking, biking, and then I think that's a very important part, because growing up and being in high school, I was active. I was on a team. I played basketball, but I had a lot of friends that never got involved because I think that aspect of it intimidated them. And so I think getting people and kids involved in other aspects where they can just be physical and physically fit is very important and crucial. And I know you guys do an excellent job of that, and so I'm looking forward to all that coming to the committees.
Well, one of the important parts of this is that we do have a very active group of sport people, and they do very good work with the people that come to them. But the 80% of the children and people who don't participate in those sports are really the target for all the rest of it. And so we need to do something about them. And so that's exactly that unstructured play, getting people to have confidence and competence in what they do so that they can go to our parks and they can participate by themselves. And there's some parent work that has to be done about that as well. So it wasn't built in a day.
Yeah. So thank you again for everything you guys do.
Gentlemen, I think it's been all said. Thank you very much
Thank
for all
you.
the work you do for the town.
Thank you.
All in favor of receipt of the presentation, please. Contrary, that is carried. We'll move to public service announcements, please. I believe Councillor Mrackets, it's my turn to start with you.
I wasn't going to actually have one, but I might as well say I met with MPP Percy Hatfield. He's the NDP critic for municipal affairs yesterday, and had a great discussion with him in regards to OMB reform. Pardon? NDP, I said that. Had a great discussion, and they're looking forward to, hopefully, that the recommendations that the municipal councils have put forward is the change that is needed, and they're standing behind that firmly. So, and next week I'll be speaking with MPP Patrick Brown, so I'm hoping to have all parties get on board, and hopefully we can get that effective change.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm the first up, so I'm going to talk about Aurora's Haunted Forest, which has become an incredible tradition in the town of Aurora, so successful. It is taking place Saturday, October 29th, 6 to 9 p.m. Costs $5, and you must register in advance. I'm sure there's information on the website, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of items. We have Remembrance Day coming up, but the Remembrance Day banners on Yonge Street at Wellington are just fantastic. I talked to Ken White and commended him on what an outstanding way to recognize ours that served for our nation. So they're banners with people that have fallen and sacrificed on all the flowers that you see south of Wellington, and it's just outstanding. Again, I would like to congratulate their initiative and collaborating again with the town. It seems when people collaborate with the town, great things happen. So my congratulations and my appreciation as well. The Kettle Drive is coming up. Salvation Army was here for the media launch. It does start on November 28th. If you contact Neighborhood Network and volunteer a few hours, we sent out letters to several organizations. It was well attended. And then the Aurora Sport Hall of Fame is going to have their induction ceremony next week. I think there's a few seats left. It was at St. Andrews College, and we thank them very much for allowing us to share their facility and partner with the town and Sport Aurora. And it was a great event, and it's hosted by James Duthie. And as well, the official reopening, relocated Aurora Sport Hall of Fame is on Saturday, November 5th. And that is a proud moment indeed going forward to find a home. And I haven't been there, but I'm going to go have a sneak preview. And I hear it's just outstanding in the Sark building. So congratulations to all those as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Humphries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder that the farmers market is now indoors at the Armory. October 29th, Saturday, they'll be there. Don't miss it, 8 to 1 p.m. And great venue, and enjoy our local farmers' produce and crafts artisan.
Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Daw. Queens York Rangers 2799 Army Cadet Corps, they're throwing a spaghetti night. This is to raise money for the 2017 Vimy bound trip. I think a number of the cadets are going to Vimy for the 100th anniversary of that battle. And so it's going to be a great night. It's going to be at the Legion in Aurora on the 26th of November in the dining room. 4:30 to 8 p.m. It's $15 each. and that's pretty good considering you're going to get a big generous plate of spaghetti and all the fixins. And there will be door prizes, a penny raffle, music and games, and all the proceeds that I mentioned will go to the cadets who are going to the 2017 Vimy Bound trip. Tickets can be purchased at the Armory every Tuesday and Friday evening between 7 and 9 p.m., and limited tickets will be available at the door. Hope everyone can attend.
Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank St. Max for hosting another Aurora Prayer Breakfast last Tuesday. The guest speaker was Marina Namat, the author of The Prisoner of Tehran. She had an inspirational testimony, and it's a great event that has over 100 people coming out, and it's not only do people need a great physical and need to have great physical and mental well-being, but also their spiritual, and so it's great time for all the spiritual leaders and people from Aurora Newmarket in attending last Monday or Tuesday. Thank you.
Councillor Perry. I've just got a couple. The online survey, citizen budget is still up. The contest is on until October the 31st. And there is a $250 gift card for the winner of that draw. And speaking of budget, our next budget meeting is Tuesday, November the 14th. So put that on your schedule. If you have anything that you would like to, Monday. I got here Tuesday, yeah. Just put anything in front of me and I'll read it. So if you have input on that, we would love to have that. The town will be pruning municipal trees between November and January. There's more information on that on the website. And finally, applications are being accepted for floats or marching bands in the Stand Under the Stars Parade. Actually, one last thing. Councillor Tom mentioned Vimy Ridge. I was at the St. John's Black and White Gala last week, and Ted Barris was the guest speaker. Now, Ted Barris, his father was Alex Barris. Some may know that name. He was on TV. Ted Barris, we used to be on CBC Radio, was a freelance broadcaster and very prodigious author. He gave the most incredible talk on Vimy Ridge and how the Canadians organized and took 3 months to organize the attack on Vimy Ridge and why it was so successful. So if you ever have a chance to hear Ted Barris do that talk, take advantage of it because it's really quite fascinating, very engaging. Highly recommend it. So that's it. That's my plug for Ted Barris. Councillors, we'll start with items requiring separate discussion, please. Councillor Perry, if I may start with you.
1 sub 3, please.
I'm sorry, 1-3? Councillor Kim?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm sorry? Good. Councillor Tom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 3. And you said 1 sub 3? Thank you.
Councillor Humphries? Councillor Abel?
I'm good for present.
Councillor Tom?
1 sub 10.
10? Very good, sir. Councillor Gardner?
Thank you. Was that 1 sub 3 or item 3 tonight?
Both.
Both? Thank you. Item 4.
Thank you, Councillor Rackus. Thank you very much. I have 1 sub 3, 1 sub 10, item 3, and item 4. Anything else? I have a motion to adopt the items not requiring separate discussion. Item 4 is pulled. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Maracas. Councillor Thompson, all in favor, please. Contrary, that is carried, Madam Clerk. If I may please bring item 4 forward. There's a gentleman in the audience for that. I don't believe there's any other items. Councillor Thompson, thank you for bringing it, just to bring it forward. Councillor Maracas, all in favor of bringing it forward. Contrary, that is carried. Councillor Gardner, you pull item 4. Would you put that on the floor for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I was pleased to see that I can't move as is.
Motion, please. Councillor Perry, thank you. Councillor Abel, second. Madam Clerk, can you help us?
Yes, number 7.
We need direction. Councillor Perry.
Thank you. My mic wasn't working. I'm tempted to move forward with item number 3 right away. I will move forward with that council provide direction respecting concurrence.
So 3A.
3A.
Thank you. Councillor Abel, you okay with seconding that? Thank you very much. Councillor Gardner.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm a little lost. Are we on 4?
Yes, item 4.
Thank you. I was pleased to see that staff was able to get answers to some of the questions, but there was no answer about the well water, and I know that it was said that the area drains south to Lake Ontario, but okay. Ooh, this is good. This is good. No, then I'll have been deemed to have left the table. Okay, I had a concern it's now a few weeks ago, about construction, and if the construction could possibly contaminate or affect the residents' well water. And I was told, thank you, that the aquifer flows to the south and that there would, therefore, the wells would not be affected. But I would like to have that in the motion. I would like Industry Canada to say that they confirm that the construction of the telecommunications tower will have no effect on residents' well water. I would like to make that as an amendment, if anybody would like to second it.
Is there a second, please, for that? Councillor Kim?
Thank you. I think I've said all that needs to be said. Some of our residents depend on well water. The soil on the de Blasi property, as Councillor Peary knows, received a lot of soil of unknown quantity, quality, possible contamination. And any work on this site hopefully will have no effect on the well water. But I would like it on record that we want that comment from Industry Canada that our residents' wells are going to be unaffected by anything that goes on in this site.
That would be an amendment then, Councillor. Any comments or questions on Councillor Gardner's amendment, Councillor Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Gardner. However, I'm not sure it's within our authority to require another higher level of government to do something. If the clerk could comment on that and whether or not this amendment is ultra vires.
Madam Clerk?
I would have to look into that. I can't comment. I don't know if our director would be able to answer that.
Mr. Ramuno?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. The telecommunication towers are, as Council is aware, are regulated by the federal government, so these proposals don't need to comply with municipal bylaws or policies. However, Industry Canada has established a set of guidelines to ensure that the towers are constructed in such a way that they are safe and they demonstrate that there's no impact on an ongoing basis, and they also deal with the combined effects of multiple towers. They also need to comply with the National Building Code with respect to the construction of the towers and demonstrate good engineering practice and structural integrity, and then discussing it with the consultant who's here representing Bell. I mean, there will be minimal foundation work that will have to take place, but he also advises me that they do conduct soil tests before they actually commence construction.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think it hurts to put it in our motion. I think it underlines the fact that we as a council care about our residents and those, especially in this case, that depend on well water.
It wouldn't be the first time that something unexpected has happened in a construction project, and I would like Interested Canada to know that that's what we expect.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. While I agree they may not have to adhere to what we say, I think it is good to call it out, raise the concern, so at least it's addressed and noted, and so I'm happy to support it.
Councillor?
I agree wholeheartedly there is a need to have it mentioned. Through you to, I believe Mr. Ramuno is now in charge of building in the Ontario Building Code.
Mr. Ramuno?
Or
actually, not until we pass the bylaw.
Okay. So then through you to Ms. Van Leeuwen, Tasha, through the Ontario Building Code and the federal building code, because I believe there is a distinction between the two, is there any requirement for them to undergo an environmental assessment?
Ms. Van Leeuwen.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the building code actually doesn't regulate these structures. It is not considered a designated structure under the building code, and therefore a building permit is not required. As Mr. Ramuno has mentioned, Industry Canada requires that they comply with the National Building Code. The Ontario Building Code is modeled after the National Building Code, but they are not the same.
Councillor?
And through you to either Tasha or Mr. Ramuno, Marco, are there any requirements for an environmental assessment to be done?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there's no requirement for an EA, but all the applicants working for the mobile providers do work with the local conservation authorities and the Ministry of Natural Resources.
Thank you.
Any other further comments or questions on Councillor Gartner's amendment? Okay, it's calling the vote on the amendment. All in favour? Contrary? That is carried. Back to the main motion as amended, which is concurrence with notification with respect to potential contamination. I apologize. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Gardner, Councillor Maracos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's mention in here of putting a shroud on top of the tower with the Town of Aurora logo. I object to that. I think that this is not serving the Town of Aurora residents. I think we have residents that are very unhappy about this. I'm not interested in having anything that says Town of Aurora on top of this tower.
Any other speakers, please? Councillor Marcus, apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment and then a question also. So through you to, I guess, Mr. Ramuno. We hear a lot about the health risks and the concerns with radio waves when it comes to these cell towers. And we've been told repeatedly that the health concerns have been looked at and that the levels are not dangerous or wouldn't affect the residents due to the distance and everything, and they've looked at all that. And so I'm just wondering, there are other things around the town that actually emit radio waves, and such as our smart meters, they emit radio waves. And so I'm wondering if Health Canada has looked at this instead of in isolation, have looked at it as a whole, and all these radio waves from everything that's within the distance, does that bring up the levels, or are they just looking at the level what this is sending out? And so that, I kind of see there's a bit of a concern because the more technology and the more we move forward in the future, there's more products and things that are going to be in the area that are going to be emitting these radio waves. And so I'm just wondering if they look at it from that aspect. And so I guess through you to Mr. Ramuno, is that what they do? Do they look at it from, I guess I'll use the word holistic approach instead of...
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they do look at the combined effects. I mean, the guidelines does deal with the combined effects of other towers in the nearby area. I'm not sure if they look at the combined effects of other type of smaller scale facilities, but the guidelines do speak to demonstrating that they address the combined effects of other towers in the area.
Councillor?
And I mean, as stated, I think that's a bit of my concern moving forward is that we need to look at all aspects of it. And I mean, because I think that the more technology grows, we're going to have more radio waves coming through, and so it could up the levels, and which could be a concern overall. And so I just think that that's something that maybe we should ask down the line that Health Canada look into, instead of just looking at these in isolation.
Thank you. Any other comments, Councillor Thompson?
Just to follow up, some of us had the opportunity, a few years back to be part of an FCM conference that talked a lot about that, and so there is a tremendous amount of information on Industry Canada's website as well as Health Canada about health concerns. It's the #1 issue that you hear with regards to cell phone towers. I would encourage residents as well as members of council to take a look at it. There's quite a significant buffer between the limits that Health Canada imposes and what they view as a concern for human beings, and so I think they conduct regular audits. They continually update the safety codes as well, and so we've said it in the past about posting some of this information on our website as well, or at least directing them to Industry Canada's site. It's a wealth of information, because certainly we hear it often when cell towers are being discussed about the concerns, and so I think that perhaps, given that it's a topical discussion, perhaps we look at putting it on our website again, or at least the link to Industry Canada's site, so if anybody's interested, they can look at it themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Apologies, Councillor Thompson, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I had asked through you for if the shroud could have the Aurora emblem on it. And Mr. Ramuno, if you could let me know how that went, if you could confirm.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, we did make that request, and Bell is agreeable. They've provided a new style of tower. It's now what we refer to as a tripole tower. It's still the same height, 40 meters high, similar to the one on St. John's, and they are willing to construct a tripole with a shroud and with our logo. So they have agreed to that, and I've provided that a colored attachment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramuno.
Further comments or questions? All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify, I just want to make sure Councillor Thompson understood my point of view on it, is that our smart meters emit radio waves. And so therefore they're set at, and I looked at their regulations, and they say that they're at a safe level. And then the cell tower says they're at a safe level, and that's great. They're both at a safe level, but in combination, would those two exceed the safe levels? And that's my concern and my question, is maybe they should look at that, because I don't think that they necessarily look at things that aren't, cell towers. They're not going to look at the cell towers. They're just looking at cell towers. And so I think that they need to also look at those smart meters that are also emitting those radio waves. And that's just what I'm thinking. And
Point
I
of
agree.
order?
Do they put up the information?
Can we keep talking about the motion in front of us?
Well, the motion speaks to health risks within.
Councillor Abel.
We learned at the seminar from Industry Canada that Councillor Marakis said the phone actually emits radioactive, and the harder it works, the more it emits. So if the tower's closer, it works less. So that's sort of an understanding as well. So there's the phones, there's the smart meters, there's all kinds of things, and together in a combination, I don't think anyone's really been able to evaluate that, but there's a lot going on out there. Yeah, all right.
Calling the vote. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. We'll go back to the regular schedule of events. Item 1, sub 3. Councillor Peary, you pulled that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move receipt of item number 3.
Thank you. Councillor Tom, second.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to move an amendment. The more we talk about this, the more we look at this, I don't believe this is a good idea anymore. I think...
Just a sec, what's your amendment?
The amendment will be that the town not proceed with the suspension of winter overnight parking restrictions.
Okay, that's already been, Madam Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's already been passed, so that would be a waiver. Pardon me? This is just receipt.
In the last 6 months?
I just need confirmation as to when the original direction was passed to determine whether it would be a reconsideration
But I
or
think
not.
it's within the last 6 months. The overnight parking? Counselor, if I'm
I
misinterpreting-
understand your point, Mr. Mayor. Let me just double check.
Sorry, it's before my time.
If we don't get, if we don't get the 2/3, that's fine, but I do think that's the right thing to be doing.
So first of all, Counselor, we would need a motion to reconsider the original motion. Yeah, we'd have to put that on the floor first.
Happy to put that on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second for Counselor Perry's request to reconsider? There is not. You? There's a second, Counselor Perry.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Requires 2/3.
are we allowed to speak to that?
Well, it's just a motion to reconsider.
enough.
So 2/3, all in favor of the motion. We require 2/3. All in favor, please. Hands high.
And I'd like a recorded vote on this.
Recorded vote, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Kim?
Okay, let's clarify what we're voting on.
This is a reconsideration as to whether to move forward with the winter parking restrictions being removed. So
Councillor
Councillor Kim?
No.
Councillor Tom?
No.
Mayor Daw?
Yes.
Councillor Peary?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
No.
Councillor Abel?
No.
Councillor Humphreys?
No.
Councillor Maracus?
No.
So the motion for reconsideration fails.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Perry, anything further?
I'm content with my ability to vote at the table, voice my opinion in opposition to the way that we're moving forward. Just the way that we're looking at this more and more, I'm not sure it's the right way. I still have concerns around safety. Mr. Simonauskas has put forward a great report that outlines how to move forward, but ultimately my concern was with moving forward overall, and Mr. Simonauskas does a great job of explaining some of the ramifications, the way he sees it moving forward, and I will take some solace in knowing that if this goes off the rails, staff have the ability to shut it down. So I appreciate everybody giving me the opportunity to voice my concerns.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Any other comments? Councillors Thompson and Maracus. This is a receipt for information.
Thank you. Just following the point, we had the conversation last week, and I just want to confirm that our CAO has the authority to cancel the program should those safety concerns or any of those issues crop up, especially over the period that there are no council meetings between December and January.
Mr. DeRosa.
To you, Mr. Chair, my position would be that if it's a health and safety issue, that I would have that authority to cancel something that is deemed unsafe.
And so we all know the concerns, and so I think that's why I'm comfortable with moving forward, because staff will use their best judgment, but there are issues, but it can be overcome. It's been overcome in other municipalities, and so I'm willing to go forward with it with the knowledge that staff, will monitor it and make the right choices.
Councillor Maracus.
I know this is to receive for information, so I'll be very quick, and I fully agree with what Councillor Thompson said. I think that he said it best, so I won't go too much into it. I'm comfortable moving forward because it is a pilot, and staff have the ability to stop it if there is those health and safety concerns. So I do share concerns, though, and I will say that. I do have some concerns, but I'm comfortable moving forward because it is the pilot.
Councillor Abel. Councillor Kim.
Thank you. We did receive a couple of, I received 3 emails. I referred them to our communications director, Stephanie Mackenzie Smith, and she replied very promptly, and I want to thank her for that. There is a big misconception of what's going on, and I think we would you know, it's valuable to process the information and understand what is going on. Most people say, I can't believe you're lifting parking restrictions overnight, and when the plow comes at night, those cars are going to be in the way, and that is just entirely wrong. The cars have to be removed during a snowstorm, whether it's night or day. And we have to make sure that people are clear. We're not allowing cars to be there. And secondly, most of our snowplow operations are always done starting at 6 on the main connector roads and then moving to the secondary roads. So there was no snowplows during the evening anyways. So that concern can be easily addressed by just simply stating those simple facts and getting that communication out. So it will take a bit, but it's a good strategy going forward. I think it's reasonable to try it, and it is a pilot project. And I thank staff for putting this together. It's taken a while, and we'll see how it works. And if it works the way it does, then we'll have our streets plowed, and people will be able to have some of the parking overnight when there is snow on the ground, and when there is no snow falling. And that's basically what it is. It's letting our residents use their best judgment to use the streets for parking when they have company, when it's obvious there's no snow or no snowplow being done. And that's quite simply what it is. It's done in Ottawa, which has 2 or 3 times the snowfall, and it's a huge city, and they do have challenges, but they get it done and have for years, and in many other municipalities as well. And it's just sort of our turn to come along and do that for our residents. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Councillor Kim. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just regarding on the item of our CAO having the end decision to cancel the program, I would encourage staff to have some set criteria, conditions, qualitative or quantitative metrics, so that you can make those decisions, so that it doesn't have to be subjective and people would second guess. So I think it would be good, and I would encourage that staff would have some set conditions before, you know, the red cancel plug is pulled. Thank
you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess the best way that I can phrase it is that I would, if the situation arose where I thought there was a safety issue or a liability issue for the town, I would suspend the program pending full information and ultimately bringing it back to council. So I would think that any decision, unless it was very blatantly a risk, in which case I'd cancel it, but in most cases I would say I would suspend it or bring it to council in some other form and just take action in the interim period. Since ultimately a lot of these things are judgment calls, so I would want council's support in my judgment at that time.
Councillor? Any other speakers? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I raised concern last week for all of the things that have been mentioned at the table, and also because I think the residents are going to be really confused. But we have capable staff who feel confident that they can do it, so let's see what happens.
Other speakers? All in favor of receipt for information, please. Contrary? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 1 sub 10, Councillor Thompson.
I can't move it at this time.
Is there a motion, please? Councillor Marcus, move as is. Councillor Abel, second. You know, last time you put your hand up, you said you weren't moving it, you wanted to speak to it. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize to council for not pulling it last week. I know we had a great opportunity with Mr. Tree, who wrote the report here. I bring it up because a year ago we had a discussion with regards to using Imajet versus Triazin. Since that time, there's certainly been articles in the paper. There's certainly been emails that we've all received. And I guess my question through you to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, if this motion is approved tonight, does that mean we will continue to use Imajet in 2017?
Mr. Downey.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my recommendation would be, it says in the report that we go to tender for the 2017 program. What we can do is go for tender using both chemicals, and then take a look at the cost comparison, and then council can make a decision on which direction they wish to take. I think that would cover that issue.
That would certainly be my preference. I would like council to have another discussion about the use of those two, and perhaps have Mr. Tree and some other information presented to us. You know, I'm certainly no expert, but some of the information concerns me, so with council's indulgence, I would encourage us going out for those RFPs for the two products, and then when it comes back, we can have a discussion about it and then make a decision.
Councilor Humphries.
You, Mr. Mayor, absolutely agree. In fact, I was going to ask about the same approach, if possible. So I'm looking forward to that. And if are there any stats right at the moment within how well and effective the current chemicals success rate on the trees that we're treating today?
Mr. Downey, have you got any information on that?
Versus the old way, maybe.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with regards to a comparison between Imajet and Triazin, we don't have specific comparisons between the two. We do know that that the decline has not been significantly higher one way or the other. It's not a guarantee, and so both chemicals we believe have effectiveness. However, Imajet is certainly a more or least costly alternative to Triazin, and we believe it's just as effective a treatment, even though we know it's a neonicotinoid, but it's an injection into a tree as opposed to a spray. Councilor?
Thank you. And perhaps when, if at all possible, when it comes back to us after the RFPs are out, if there's any information we need to be aware of at all that causes concern, in the environment. I know that we don't at the moment have much information on this at all, but we, like Councilor Thompson said, we were getting a few questions, and I know we're using it quite differently. It's not sprayed, it's injected, so it's not airborne, but just a little bit concerned just to make sure if we have any additional facts to understand what the impact really is at the end of the day.
Thank you. Councilor Abel, Councilor Gardner.
There is great concern with the chemical that is used in Imajet. It's called a neonicotinoid. And it's well documented that when it is sprayed in crop dusting, mostly in corn, it is impactful beyond, you cannot believe how destructive it is to the bees. I liken it to radiation. Radiation spreads like it's just a horrible thing to imagine if there's a leak or something. However, when applied in a direct manner, it is used in medicine to great benefits. And that's sort of how I look at this. It's injected, it's not sprayed, it's contained, it has a shelf life, it doesn't spread. So if that is the facts, then it's merely a matter of cost in my mind. Now, if council was willing to, in good conscience, say, well, we'll spend more money because even though you've said that, I still don't want to use it, then that's something that council can decide. The fact that the project is working is what really matters, because the benefits of having a canopy and a healthy tree, as opposed to cutting it down and removing it and then putting a new one, that cost is really heavy. So the $100 we invest every other year or every year for these trees is tremendous. And we've seen it so far has worked, not to 100%, but it is working. But, I go down a couple of streets like Sisman and McLeod, and they all are ash trees. It's unfortunate we don't plant trees like that anymore. We plant them with varying species so that if something invasive comes, we don't lose a whole street's canopy. But these trees are gorgeous. I mean, they come right over the center of the street, and they're huge and they're beautiful, and they are so beneficial. And so as long as the program's going through, whether it's either application, the benefits far outweigh what that cost is. And that's what we're doing. And we've got a tree nursery to replace the other ones, and it's a program that we employed from last term. And not all municipalities did do it, and I think they're suffering far worse than if they had put in a plan similar to ours. So I would ask that we have clarification so that we're all comfortable, because when you say the destructiveness to the bees, I mean, there's no way I want any part of it. So I just want to be sure that scientifically that the case is that this application does not impact on pollinators, and therefore we can go ahead with the application.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I raised this concern in the very beginning, having been educated by some of the residents. I'm very glad we're having a look at it again. Hopefully we can have some more information about not only the effectiveness of both chemicals, but also any updated information on neonics that Mr. Downey can provide. It is true that it's going to be an injection, and that is a much safer way to do it, but I think the most current information that would be available would be good for council to have before we make the decision.
Councillor Maracus, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, I know I've asked this every time this comes up, so I just want you maybe, if you can clarify it again for any residents that are watching. What does happen with the dead trees once they are considered dead and we remove them?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the question is whether or not the neonicotinoid is residual in the tree if it has been a treated tree, whether it stays residual in the tree, because some of the trees we chip and use for mulch on our trails, and then some of it is used when disposed of as firewood. We have checked into it, and there is no residual chemical within the trees, to our knowledge, that's for both Imajet and for triazine. We don't believe there is an impact upon the disposal of the tree.
Thank you, and I guess I'll just reiterate my concerns. Is I fully appreciate that staff are saying that there is no impacts as far as the mulch. I'd maybe ask if we can look into having an environmental assessment as far as is it really harmful or not? And because I mean, we're mulching it, we're putting it on our trails, so I would definitely like to have an expert opinion.
I believe Mr. Tree sent us a memo a couple of months ago. So, and I think that's the third or fourth time Mr. Downey's answered the question.
He's answered it, but I'm just saying I'd prefer to have maybe an outside expert opinion speaking directly to Imajet.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what we can do as part of our 2000 capital budget request for this is we can also put a cost in for analysis of the dead tree material for any residual chemical left in the tree, just to satisfy council that we've had outside analysis or chemical analysis of the plant material to assure council that we have no residual.
Thank you, sir.
But that would be an extra cost we could put in the capital budget.
Councillor Perry. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Believe it or not, I found myself having a conversation with a beekeeper on Saturday, and they confirmed that, application is everything as it relates to neonics. With that said, there's information on both sides of the argument. One that says it's terrible to use in all situations, some that say it's good to use in some situations. I am not an expert. I don't think any of us around the table are experts in this. We've asked Mr. Downey for information. He's given us information that says it's safe. We receive, we read We still have questions and concerns with regards to whether or not it's safe. So then we ask Mr. Downey for more information, and he again tells us that it's safe to use. And this cycle's been repeated a few times now. Maybe it would make sense to bring somebody in who's a specialist, not to evaluate the material after the fact. Somebody who's recognized in the field from one of the schools. University of Guelph would probably have somebody, an expert. It might make sense just to bring them in so that we know definitively, well, as much as we can know definitively, but one way or the other. As it relates to this, with the information Mr. Downey's provided to date, I feel comfortable moving forward, but I do think that there are some valid questions that remain to be answered as definitively as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to be clear. So whether or not direction is needed for Mr. Downey to go out and tender for both and then bring it back to council, or whether he has enough direction.
Mr. Downey?
See, Mr. Mayor, no, I believe we have sufficient direction. My understanding is council wants us to at least explore the cost of both chemicals. So in the report, we've identified that we are going to, once 2017 capital budget is approved, we will be going out for tender for the 2017 treatment program. And with that, we will ensure that both chemicals are being priced for treatment in 2017.
Great. Happy to continue the discussion at that time.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure where we stand on this expert opinion. We would have to have that before we could make a decision on which chemical to use.
Mr. Downey?
See, Mr. Mayor, it's also my understanding that council wanted some analysis done of not only the plant material but also the treatment program. We will be asking for additional funding for the program in order to support an outside expert to come in and do that analysis.
Thank you. Councillor?
I think different experts are going to have different opinions. Is there, coming under the University of Guelph, is there not a statement that speaks to this use of the chemical? Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Downey, or could Mr. Downey find that out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can provide council with documentation with regards to the use of the chemical. And as council has discussed here, there are opinions on both sides. So it is going to be up to council to decide which article they feel has more validity than another. So outside of that and providing that information, my understanding is you wanted to have an outside independent analysis of this, and we're happy to do that. We're going to have to put some additional money in the capital budget in order to make sure that occurs. But certainly there is literature on both sides of this.
I also point, in addition to Mr. Tree's memo from a few weeks ago, there was also a paper from University of Michigan, I think, that was distributed. And you know the old adage, if you put two lawyers in a room, you'll get three opinions. So speaker, you'll get an expert. Mr. Downey says you'll get an expert to support each side. So I think probably it would make sense to get the information back from Mr. Downey. If there's still concerns at that time, we could proceed forward at that time.
Thank you. I agree.
Thank you. All in favor then of the motion? Contrary? It's carried. Thank you. Last item is number 3 that was pulled by Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, second.
And I just wanted to ask a couple of brief questions, mainly for the benefit of the residents and any of those who weren't at our capital budget meeting. With respect to number 1, the budget variance, it speaks to it in the report on pages 3 and 4. But I just want to get staff to just quickly clarify for the residents, what is the driver behind the increase? Is it technology? Just to give the residents an idea of what the increase in budget cost is going to be.
Madam Clerk, is this you or is this Ms. Van Loon? One of you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the increase in the budget is because we've combined several projects that have been discussed over the years. So there was talk about improving one of our committee rooms to have the equipment so that we can web stream committee meetings and have an overflow room for the situations like we had tonight where the council chambers is full and we want to be able to make sure the residents have somewhere else they can sit and participate in the meeting. There were accessibility concerns that have been brought up over the years, and improving accessibility, not just physically, but through equipment, the projection screens that we use, some of the audio visual pieces that we have. We also have as has been noted tonight, we have equipment that seems to be failing every meeting. The audio visual system in here is very aged and has not been reliable, and it's also causing us barriers with moving forward with some of the transparency measures we'd like to make. High quality live streaming of the meetings that the residents can follow at home, the technology that will allow them to view our agendas and actually connect the live stream with the agenda items and go back and listen to specific items. So all of those pieces have been combined into one, and this project really allows the technology to be put in place that will take us into the future and allow us to look at other options moving forward.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And certainly, Councillor Gardner will be excited to get a new microphone at the very least. So I appreciate that, Madam Clerk. The second question is with respect to the timelines of the work schedule. And really, it's just a question of if it does happen that the work runs late and it runs past the council recess, what is the contingency plan for council if this room is unusable? Madam Clerk.
So we have built that into the RFP that the vendor is to provide us with an alternate. Well, we would book the location, but they would provide us with the equipment to set up a temporary location. So we do recognize it's an ambitious schedule with a lot of work that needs to be completed, and that is a possibility. And we will make sure that we have an alternate arrangement set up that will be able to facilitate our meetings in the interim.
Councillor. Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I'll support this. I think it's long overdue. Thank you.
Anything else on this, Councillors Abel and Gardner?
Thank you. Just a few questions. And did we start this project at $100,000? Is that what I'm reading in the report? I'm looking at page 2 of 8 under analysis. The scope of the project involves the removal. The full scope of work exceeds 100,000 threshold. Okay, so there's my answer. So can you give, could you tell me how much of this is equipment and how much of it is labor?
Madam Clerk?
I don't, through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have the breakdown in front of me right now. I could provide that to you after the meeting. There is a significant amount that is labor. The programming, even of a lot of the audio visual, which will allow us to move forward with an integrated system, the cameras, that we don't have to have staff here running camera system, basically. I don't know if you're familiar, a lot of audio visual equipment, they're quite technical now, and many municipalities actually have to staff an AV person to come in and do all the meetings. The equipment we're looking at is pre-programmed, so it's really a touch button system that we can, there's presets to it, and we'll be able to preset what we're doing at the meeting so we don't have to have that additional staff. But a lot of it is labor intensive. The changes to the council chambers, the screens, they're going to be removing the wood frame around the screens because that's been noted as a barrier to those using the ramp for accessibility purposes. So the new screen will be set flush into the wall, so there is some labor that has to be done around that. And again, a lot of the labor is technical in nature with regards to background work being done with the audio-visual equipment. Making sure the system is integrated, we will have a queuing system. All of that has to be pre-programmed, and it's stuff that you and I don't see, but it gets done in the background.
Councillor?
Well, that was a good answer. I'm just looking for the component on the equipment and trying to get an idea of the labor. I noticed that the work is being done within a month period. So, you know, I'm just sort of trying to find out, is it $300,000 for the labor and teaching the programming? And is he sending in 1 or 2 people? And I'm just thinking to myself, that is a lot. Or is he sending in a crew of 15 and they're working during the evening and overnight, so not to be disruptive? And so I know you don't have that, so I'm not asking that. That's the reason I... Okay. I did want to ask, it's all right. The one question I did want to ask is on page 5 of 8, you have capital project 12002 Accessibility Committee, $192,000. Could you give council an idea of what that is? Because the report's not coming to my mind right now. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Anlune, do you happen to know?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is funding that's coming from the accessibility capital projects. And in terms of the accessibility features, it will include both high definition, high contrast resolution of video projection and screens, wireless hearing assist, amplification of the audio capabilities, split screen video projection display for electronic note taking, capability for future video conferencing, accessible delegation table in both rooms with the ability to adjust the table height, and greater access to the ramp in the council chambers with the removal of the wood frames, and closed captioning of web streaming and archived videos. So those are some of the accessibility components that this funding is going towards.
Thank you.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's going to be really great to have this in place. As I hold the mic. On page 4, the second, I'm not sure, staff have further reviewed the equipment list as presented by the proponent and have reduced items resulting in a 10% reduction in overall costs. I mean, that's always good to know, but I don't want to get into a situation, and we've seen it happen before, where we're penny-wise and pound foolish in the long term. So what kind of equipment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That actually was something that we had requested through the RFP, where we required that the system provide closed captioning of all of our live streaming. And what we discovered afterwards, so the RFP includes that cost. What we discovered afterwards is that our accessibility advisor had already budgeted amount in his budget to cover the closed captioning of meetings. So we basically had money in 2 places. So we removed it out of the RFP because it's already covered. So that's the piece that you're concerned about.
Councillor? Any other comments or questions on this item? All in favor then? Contrary? That's carried. That finishes the items which were pulled for separate discussion. There's no regional report, new business, general information. Councillor Rackets.
This is not really new business, but I'm not sure if anyone's done this. I just wanted to congratulate Bob Quapis on being the new councillor for Ward 5 in Newmarket. So I think that it was just good to say congratulations to him.
Councillor Gardner. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Abel. Councillor Humphreys.
I'm just wondering, through Mr. Mayor, what's happening with the Traffic Advisory Board terms of reference? I was hoping to see them in October as committed, but don't think we're going to.
Mr. Simonauskas.
Certainly through Mr. Chair. We have a report that's actually coming for December. We have been looking at some options of delivering a traffic advisory committee. So what we're preparing to present is the previous terms of reference, and also some options that might be of interest to council. So that's why it's taking a little longer.
It was December? Is that what I heard? December?
Correct.
Wow.
Councillor Tom. Councillor Kim. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to advise council that staff are going to be sending out the nomination criteria for the Canada 150 Community Leaders program put on by the FCM. So if everybody can take a look at that and submit some names to our clerks of potential candidates for that. We'll be going into closed session next week to discuss. So if everybody has a look at the nomination criteria, it's a way that they can pick our representatives during Canada's 150th. That's the first. And then the second point, Mr. Mayor, last term, council considered action items relating to the cultural master plan that was presented to us. Based on the conversations we've had at our last budget meeting, I think it would be pertinent to take a look at those action items again. Bring them back to council for us to have, a fresh set of eyes on them to see if there are any initiatives that we'd like to move forward. I think that's a pertinent thing to do, especially because we've set aside budget to do so. So through you to either the clerk or the CAO, is that something that requires a notice of motion or staff direction, and we can bring it back for consideration within the next few weeks?
Mr. CAO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd want to clarify exactly what you want to have achieved in the next couple of weeks. There's quite a bit on the
of course
on the coming agendas. So.
In 2014, I believe, council considered action items relating to the cultural master plan. I would like those to be brought back in front of us, exactly the same report, so that we can look at it with fresh eyes. It was the last term of council, not this term of council. So just an opportunity to look it over again to decide if there's any initiatives that we'd like to move forward to ensure that we're not just putting money aside to be used without any actual action items or ideas on what we're going to use that funding for. So it would be our opportunity to look at the action items to see if there's anything we can agree on as a council to move forward, any initiatives we can move forward on.
I think we can just take that as direction, and I don't think we need a notice of motion for that. Councillor Abel.
Just to Councillor Perry, we had a presentation, a workshop on that just 2 weeks ago on the Cultural Master Plan presented by Director Downey. So he did speak about his actions that he did take place. Mr. Mayor, I've received communication from the residents that were here for the notice of motion on the high school, and they're asking that they be given as much notice as possible when a confirmed date for the next meeting with the trustee coming forward, as opposed to it being a late add-on item. That's the reason why. So if that is can be clear, I would think maybe 2 to 4 weeks would be fair.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just quickly, last week Diane Buchanan, one of our favorite newspaper people, had her knee operated on, and I spoke to her today, and she's been home since last Thursday, which I find amazing. And she's off painkillers. She sounded pretty chipper. So I have, I'm losing all my reasons to chicken out for my operation. That's it. Thank you, Council. Bylaws, please. There's 2 bylaws, 95, 11, 16, 95, 59, I'm sorry, 12, 16. Councillor Abel. Councillor Thompson, moving those? Thank you very much. Second, Councillor Tom. Comments or questions, neither of those 2. All in favor? Contrary? That's carried. There is no closed session. May I please have confirming bylaw, please? Councillor Tom, Councillor Perry, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. May I please have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Perry, Councillor Maracas. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff.